Hello, welcome to One Place in Conversation podcast. This is issue number 18 for Time to Talk Day on Thursday, 6th of February. Welcome, my name is Saifur and I'm joined by my co-host Vimla. Hello, Vimla.
Hi, nice to see you again.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Getting used to this a little bit more on this one, but fine.
Excellent. Also joined by two lovely guests. I have Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Saifur. Good to see you again. So my name is Mike. I'm a freelance trainer, facilitator, consultant, and coach, which is why I do some work here at One Place East, and I live with a mental health condition myself.
And I'm joined by...
Yeah, I'm Jai Aswani. Nice to meet you, Saifur.
Hi, Jai.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm pretty good at the moment, and I'm ready to talk. What I do is experts by experience, which is training on certain aspects of mental health, and to sort of reach out and get other people, like other social care, like trained in that. So learn them basically by teams. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
So, Time to Talk Day. What is Time to Talk Day? Anybody know what Time to Talk Day is?
As usual, I don't know. I'm still learning. But I think it's quite relevant from what one you've said to me, and also I've just had a quick read, which it makes it quite important for people to be able to come into our communities and be open and vulnerable if they need to be, and not to be stigmatized with that vulnerability, which is really important, especially with people with disabilities or elderly or anything like that. So for me, that's what it's actually meaning right now.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's about like feeling and emotions. There's not many places to talk and to be listened to, like active listened to. A lot of people haven't got the time, they haven't got the space. But I feel Time to Talk is relevant with the stigma and discrimination with mental health, even though it has reduced. I don't feel it's reduced enough. And like podcasts, working on teams, educating and having the knowledge, would sort of educate others to talk basically. And it's about being open and honest. So you're not bottling everything in. It's always nice to talk, even with friends, family if possible. But it's a case of like people getting one or two people who really want to listen to you and give you that space and time. That's what I think.
I think talking is something that we're not always encouraged to do. And I think, the modern time we sort of, we've become less social as humans. We're often behind screens and we don't necessarily ask each other, how are you today? Without the reply just being fine, which I was told many years ago, fine stands for effed off, insecure, neurotic, and exhausted. So whenever anybody says fine to me, I think, maybe there's something behind this.
An underlying.
And I think it's because there's a stigma, and I think it's a stigma for everybody talking about how we feel. But I think especially for men, it can be incredibly difficult. And I'm mindful of a friend, as I say that, a friend from back home, her son, in his 20s, committed suicide. And it was a shock for everybody because he hadn't talked about his feelings. And that's not uncommon. A friend of mine, I went to drama school, and one person in our year killed himself, and rather than talk about how he was actually feeling. So it's a tough thing to talk about feelings, but it's a good thing to talk about feelings. And that's why a day like this is important to raise awareness.
It's about being comfortable with talking to somebody who you feel comfortable talking to.
Exactly.
Right?
I think with all of us, I think with part of disability as well, even though it's supposedly disability, there's a lot of ability of empathy for each other that I think is lacking. So we have not an understanding, but a comprehension of acceptance, which makes, especially at one place east, with so much diversity and different people with different issues and what have you, and everything that comes together. But I do agree with you, Mike, about the thing about men, because I've got it so much in people that I know. Men are not supposed to show their feelings. Men are supposed to be a certain way, and I'm on a podcast with, I'm outnumbered today.
I think it's also about a little bit about what was I going to say? It's about feeling safe to talk, and that, you know, one of the things I find most difficult is when somebody says, "I know how you feel." You can't know how I feel. You can maybe relate to my situation because you share something similar to my situation. But if I were talking to another person with mental health conditions such as mine, I wouldn't say, "I know how you feel," because their experience is unique to them. So it's important that we not only listen, but we are careful about the language that we use. So we can perhaps understand, but we can't know how another person is feeling.
Well, you say that. I mean, only last month, I had an accident and I fell out my wheelchair, and currently recovering from it now. But I fractured my toes, my two toes, in my right leg, and my leg is painful from knee to my toes. And I was talking to a friend of mine, you know, a week or so after it happened, and he was like, "Oh, I know how you feel." But I'm like, "You don't really. I mean, you may have broken your bone before, right? But you don't feel the same as how I'm feeling, because you know, the way I feel about it is completely different."
This was what I was going to say.
Right.
Feelings and sorry.
Yeah.
Your feelings and emotions are different.
It's
You said unique to different people. It's like mental health and that. It's loads of like labels like bipolar, OCD, but they're different symptoms for different people. You can't just label everything, like tarnish everything with the same brush, one size fits all. This is the conversation we was having like earlier on and that. So it's a case of getting to know the person in reality and like get them to explain their emotions, how they're feeling, so you could have an understanding. You're never going to know how the other person's feeling. And if it's a hidden disability, which is not shown, people are not going to know how to sort of take you in that. They're going to make assumptions and assume everyone's fine, everyone's equal and that. But little do they know what people go through, like in the outside world and indoors. You don't know what sort of stress, you don't know whether it's, you know, addiction or abuse, or like, you really don't know. There's so many issues, like, and you don't get a chance to talk, basically. And this is why it's a case of opening up. I mean, the past year or so, I've kind of like tried to be myself and open up, sort of thing, when you've got the right space in that. Because outside, there's judgmental, people do judgmental, very critical the way people are, and you don't want to be judged, sort of thing, even though we've got our own issues. But don't think everyone's got like the same sort of issue. Everyone's got different. So it's a case of coming together in a group setting or individual counselling, get to know that person, listen to them actively, and give them that empathy.
So, Saifur, how did you feel? As we're talking about this and looking for a safe, or with your friends or what have you, if your friends are your friends.
Well, after it happened, and I was saying to somebody earlier on today, actually, that today is the first time I have stepped out of my house in the last 4 weeks since it's happened. Because I was unable to move my leg at all. Just putting the trousers on, it would take me half an hour to put that one leg on. You know, and things like that. So
frustrating.
And it made me feel quite, depressing. It felt a bit like, worthless. It felt lonely at times, but, luckily, I live with family. So I had family around me. And things like that, But, I wasn't in the best state of mind. But I, just got on with it. I tried to keep myself busy as much as I could. Binge watch all the trash on TV. As you do. But yeah, no.
But you do know it's wonderful to see you.
Sorry?
It's lovely to see
Great
you.
to see you and that sort of, even though it's
And
been
we have
4
missed you,
weeks.
especially staying out today.
But isn't it nice to get that support
it is nice to get
from family, so you don't feel sort of isolated and depressed sort of thing. To let it play in your mind, I think, is something sort of thing, and that may make the healing recovery a little bit quicker. And when you're around people, you sort of do.
You've got people around
you and stuff. So support is important, I think.
I think one of the problems about feelings, and particularly if like some of us around the table are living with a mental health condition, and then others can kind of use, because they have a different perspective, they use cliches like, oh, come on, cheer up, or pull yourself together. I'm not a player of curtains. I can't just pull myself together.
Exactly.
I was watching a program about Churchill who himself last night, and he himself talked about the black dog. And when you have a mental health condition and you're in that kind of black space, it's really difficult to pull yourself out of it. And people who don't experience that may not totally understand that, I can't just pull myself together. I can't just, go for a walk and everything will be okay. Because there's a difference between mental well-being and mental illness. We all have mental health as human beings, which can be impacted by many things, but and mental well-being needs. But then, if you're living with a mental health condition, then just snapping out of it, all those cliches, they don't necessarily help. I know people may mean well, but it actually can sometimes make things worse, because then one feels like a failure, that I should be pulling myself out of this, and it's not as easy to do because of whatever's going on.
Yeah, and I feel these conditions are like long-term, like mental health, which I have long-term mental health, and I find it quite difficult to do certain things. And there's times where your mood really goes low, and you have to you stay in bed for a day or two. If you're on your own, it's really, you have all sorts of negative thoughts. I mean, you don't want to know what people sort of think about you. Feel worthless, and no one wants to know you, no one wants to help you. You just don't sort of fit in. And then when you go out, you still feel lonely and isolated, but you're amongst people. So you do sort of distract yourself. But when you're on your own, it does sort of hit you, especially weekends. I just know the weekends come in and I start getting, it's the symptoms around the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and I've just got a feeling I'm going to be in bed sort of thing. And I'm not going to have, even though I've got friends on WhatsApp and that, to actually use WhatsApp and to phone someone, it really takes some courage and that for people to listen to you. You just think people are not interested. But it's difficult to open up, and that's what I think podcasting is all about, is to open up, give your true feelings and emotions. People, they listen to you, which is good.
And there's nothing wrong with that as well. It's not a bad thing to talk about your feelings, and it's not a bad thing to feel down. And to just pick up on something that Jay said there, there's a true expression. You can be in a room surrounded by people, but still feel lonely.
Yeah. I think I'm very much that, because, like I said which I've discussed with you at certain times, Saifur, that because I've had a brain injury, I've had a brain tumour, a lot of people around me have not had those symptoms, and I didn't understand it myself. So how can I relate that to somebody else? And I didn't get the support. So you're very much on your own. And when you're trying to cope and somebody isn't seeing what you're not even understanding properly, it's a very hard, they mean well, but then you have to find things to help yourself, because if you don't, it's just a very grey road. And people try to help you. Like you said, Mike, they try to help you, but sometimes they end up put you in a worse place than what it is. And it's like what I said to you. I said I was going to ring you, but I didn't want to. I wanted to, but I wouldn't, because I have to be respectful of how you might be feeling at that time. And so, I was going to put something out there, but then it's open to a person to decide. And I think that's what we've got to give them, is that time for them to decide when it's right for them to need or want any changes in life.
And I think that's the difficult thing for friends and family and colleagues in knowing how to respond. So, for me, I can only talk for myself. When I feel low, I tend to just want to isolate myself. But at the same time, there's a bit of me wanting people to get in contact. And therefore, for myself, I've got a very, very good friend from drama school, and she's got quite severe bipolar. And I was trying to contact her when I was in Wales last year, and she actually got really upset with me, and I got very upset with myself, because she said that I was pressuring her to meet up when I had just a couple of days. But that was what she needed. But at the same time, then
there's an opportunity to meet up, isn't it?
I lost out on the opportunity to meet up, and then I am thinking, have I done something to upset her by reaching out? Because I'd only asked once or twice. These are the dates coming up. Are you wanting to meet up? So everybody's different, and the response that might be good today may not be good tomorrow, and that's what's complicated with mental health and feelings and things like that. We have good days and we have bad days, and we don't know ourselves when we open our eyes in the morning whether it's going to feel like a good day or a bad day.
But then don't you sort of, I've gone through a lot of that, and I think the same thing as you were saying, Saifur, that I went through all of that, because why me? Why did it happen? This, that and the other, lots of other issues.
Self-blame.
And I just got to a stage where I then I'm looking for an answer from people, and it wasn't happening. So I had to look within myself I had to learn who I was and what pleased me, rather than please other people to make them feel okay. But I was still feeling rubbish. So, things like, I like things like, you've got to like colours. I used to be very much, just this. I had a conversation with someone just recently, because we were doing counselling, and they said apparently a colour describes you as a person, and certain colours relate to somebody's behavioural characteristics. So everyone's going, I'm a red, I'm a green, I'm a this, I'm a that. And I just said, I'm a rainbow.
You're all seven of them.
Yeah, every day's a different day.
Yeah.
Every day's a different day.
With me, I always need reassurance. I doubt myself so much where I just don't feel right any sort of day, but it's all in the background. And how's Mike is how you sort of tackle it. Are you going to have a good day? But it is that positive sort of frame of mind. Read so many affirmations of that, just to make yourself have the energy to get up, get ready. But then if you've got a purpose, like it's something that you quite enjoy, in my case, not a lot, basically. But you know you're going to be supported and judged. You can be liked to a certain degree. You want to, be where you're happy in your safe place. And I know happiness comes from inside rather than looking at people. So they're having a good time. Why am I not? It's like self-blame. Why me? Why is everyone? So when brother talks about going to football matches and like going to holidays, I thought, he can do that. Why am I not? But then will I enjoy it if I go on holiday?
Well, you wouldn't know until you find out, do it?
I personally, like with me, it's procrastinating. I always sort of overthink things and then talk myself out of it. And then you get like avoidance behaviour. So there's a lot of things I would like to do, but I haven't done. And now I'm feeling there's too many things to do and there's too much anxiety. I'm not going to learn like playing football or riding a bike or travelling unless I get that support. And you've got to reach out for that support. But it is difficult to open up with people.
There's also a kind of model that I sometimes use. It's a psychological model. I sometimes use it on training, and it's called the drama triangle. And I was thinking that at each point there's persecutor, rescuer, and suddenly I can't remember the third one. I did have it in my head earlier. Victim. That's right. And sometimes we can fall into victim mode and feel very sorry for ourselves. Sometimes we can fall into persecutor mode, say, why aren't you pulling yourself together? But then there's the other bit, which is the rescuer. And I think sometimes when somebody, I know I've done it with people unintentionally before, where because somebody is maybe, I think of a friend another friend who has mental health issues. And I remember us having a conversation at one time, and I was putting forward suggestions, and they got really annoyed at me. And I thought, oh gosh, yes, I'm trying to be the rescuer here. But it's like sometimes, going back to what you said, then it's about sometimes people need to find the answers for themselves. But it's a natural instinct to also want people to feel better. So working in dementia care and training in dementia care, often with staff, they want to make the situation better, and I have to explain to them that sometimes we can't make it better because you can't reverse dementia. You can't necessarily reverse mental health conditions. You can just adapt to live with them.
Yeah, I think the main thing is like coping and managing sort of thing. We can't give them answers because there's not an answer. It's best to be open and honest because you can't fib, basically. You can't make your clothes look better or your face if, it's a no-go area, basically. And people should be.
Yeah. And the things that might work for me may not work for you or Saifur or Vim. So, again, but it's a natural thing that we go, oh, well, this worked for me. And it's
exactly.
Yeah, but it's not going to be.
Everyone's different. And sometimes they don't want the sympathy, do they, really?
Yeah.
They don't want people to feel sorry.
They want empathy, not sympathy.
They want empathy, and there's two different meanings to the word, and it is empathy.
Yeah.
They don't want to feel sorry for. Yeah.
So let me ask you, where do you feel safe? Where's your safe place? Where is your safe place?
I would say a group of people in a safe place, like a mental health charity, where everyone's sort of in this, not the same boat, but there's non-judgmental, basically. There's equality, it's diverse. People sort of talk to you, don't judge you, and they listen to you. You've got to be comfortable, you've got to like the surroundings, you've got to like the people to a certain degree. Like places like Richmond Fellowship, and where I've sort of worked, I've been helping out for over 2 years. I actually can't want to come back as a volunteer. They're just waiting to do my DBS and that. It's because the people, I felt so relaxed and homely sort of thing. Or we do activities, we do like pool, go for like a walk, or host like a discussion group, and it just feels like home. So you don't mind doing that, and that's voluntary. So it really does. You want to be a safe place with not nice, but
where you just feel safe.
Where you feel safe and liked. You want to be liked. and be comfortable.
I think for me, it's a case of, I thought it's, as usual, I'm complex. I am a rainbow. I am. So at first I thought it was with other people. And then I looked, they were supposedly giving me support and help, and I wasn't getting it, and I was on my own. And then a friend of mine, lots of things happened in my own private life which weren't great. And I ended up on my own, and I was with some friends, and I kept on going to this friend's house because she got kids and everything. And then one day she goes, "Vim, love you loads, but don't you think you should stay in your house once in a while? Stay in your home once in a while?" And I didn't realise that I was avoiding that to be, because I didn't want to be on my own. I'd never really been on my own. And slowly, I mean, it scared me because it's quiet. So I'm putting the radio on, I'm putting the TV on, I'm doing all these kind of things. And gradually I got to a stage where now I am so comfortable that I don't really need to be around people. I'm happy to be, but the right kind of people, because I know who I am, and I've started to respect myself, and I don't ask for respect, I demand it on my terms. It's not being egotistic or anything like that. It's just that I've started to learn what my worth is. Doesn't matter whether we're fat, skinny, abled or not. It doesn't matter. We're all human beings. We are all human beings, and we all need to be loved. But the first love is yourself. And from there, you move forward.
You're all equal, basically.
Yeah, so you just move forward.
Don't just think people are inferior, and don't try. I mean, people devalue themselves. Oh, I'm not good enough, sort of thing. I'm not going to succeed, or I'm a failure, sort of thing. You go along with that, which I've been going like 3 years, and that nothing seems to put a smile. I don't value anything, sort of thing. So I won't even say it was a nice film on the telly, or I enjoyed that. I could go out for a real top class meal, like in a hotel, and I would just come back and say, "Oh, it was all right." You know what I mean? Like, people really appreciate I had this, and this. Company was great in that. It just seems all like flat, basically. It just don't do anything for me. So I need something that's going to make me tick, basically. And that's what but it's inner self rather than outer self. And that's where I've got to think to myself, you've got to be happy inside to show it on the outside.
For me, in terms of safe place, is that there's two, because I'm greedy. Unfortunately, I smoke. I'm trying to give up soon, but because I smoke and I'm not allowed to in the house, I go in the garden, and that's why I keep smoking, because I like just being outside in nature. And maybe not at this time of year, but I love it when there's a certain robin that comes to the garden, and I like to just be in that kind of space of nature. I've only got a small garden, but it's a real place where I can feel safe, and I don't have to be putting on a show. My work is often a mask to how I actually feel on the inside. As a trainer, when people look at me, they think I might be incredibly confident to be able to do that, but on the inside, confidence is different to self-esteem. And the other space is my bedroom. And that's because I have a salt lamp. And I find that incredibly relaxing. So I like now to, when I go to bed, I have a salt lamp on. I've got my dog to cuddle. I'll do some mindfulness. I'll listen to maybe a play on radio, because I used to do radio plays when I was in drama school. And that just helps me to kind of de-escalate at the end of the day, and some essential oils on my kind of aroma stone, those sorts of things, which are things that I find helpful. They're not necessarily helpful for everybody, but I find those things just help me have some me time, and I don't mean that in a selfish way, but I think there's so many distractions in life now. And I've just this month decided to just not do, the January, people are talking about dry January. Mine is Facebook free January. I'm not going on social media. I've got a little app which now times, it makes me do it breath in and breath out before I open the newspaper on my radio, on my phone. So it makes me think twice. Shall I leave it till next time? Because I think it's also easy to just, for me, I know I do an awful lot of looking at the newspaper, seeing all the awful things that are going on around the world, the awful things that are going on in this country. And then I end up doom scrolling and it just affects my mood. So I think it's about finding whatever techniques work for us as individuals. Those are just a couple of the ones that work for me.
What's it for you, Saifur? You've been a bit quiet. Let's hear your little saves. Let's hear.
My safe place. My safe place is a group of people that I go to watch football with on a weekly basis. I feel safe. I feel like we have the same connection, and I just feel like, I think, there are people there that I just feel safe to talking about things, Yes, I think my football group is my safe place.
Do you sing?
Yeah.
Right? Do you sing with them?
I sing with them.
Yeah, or your football songs.
I sing in the shower. We'll say less about that.
See, that's why you should follow rugby. That, being a Wales rugby fan, you sing a lot.
But no. And I missed that last 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think Mike said in the book about coping and managing. I think the thing is to enjoy one or two things, coping strategies that you enjoy, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's watching TV, certain programs. Just you don't want to leave the TV on and just for the noise or the radio. It's got to be things that sort of lends their ear and you think that's interest. It's got to tick your mind. It's no point in putting the news on where it's all sort of negative and that. Like the fire in sort of LA and that. It's like topical in that. Do you really want to engage in that sort of news and that? I don't know. It would just give like more anxiety basically. You want something that's going to override it.
Sorry.
That's right.
And sometimes that thing about news, I think this is one of the problems for us as a whole society, actually. There's so much negativity about stuff we actually have no or very little control over. As horrendous as the LA fires were, and I've got friends who live in LA, I can't do anything about it from all the way away over here in the UK. Same thing about what's happening in Israel and Gaza and all this stuff. And it just ends up, I think, for some of us, just leaving us feel like we're powerless and have no agency. And that doesn't help with our mental health because, we sometimes can't. It's awful. We can maybe make a donation or whatever, but we can't change these situations.
I don't know. For me, it changed many years ago because of everything that had happened. And I got to a stage where I stopped. Negativity was affecting me so much. And I worked in the city. So I'm dealing with a lot of things and people and attitudes and behaviours and me, and it's about me and I've got this and Beat Jones kind of thing. And I've never pandered to that. So I'm just sitting there watching them because I'm quite happy to get something expensive. I will never say no, but I'm quite happy to go to get something, from Primark or wherever. If I like it, I like it. And that's just me. And that's how I've been, I suppose, brought up. Yeah. And that has a big part in how you are and who you are, like you're saying, family and what have you. So my attitude was very much, I do what I want, but I stopped watching the news because all I saw was doom. And I stopped for years. And I did find that my life, for me personally, was better because I then didn't have to get involved with anything, but I started to see people, places, things like nature are very much part, going to the sea, just sitting there. To me, an ideal thing would be sitting on the pier with fish and chips.
Wow.
Yeah,
Sounds
just
good.
sitting there with the thing and just sitting there watching.
Sounds good.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's a happy thing.
Fish and chips sounds good.
Oh, I love fish
I
and
just look
chips.
forward to Friday.
You're at the beach. When you're at the beach,
Oh,
or what
yeah,
have
you
you, you're
can't
watching, and you're just people watching. What have you? To me,
And I
that's
think it's
special.
about putting ourselves first too.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be a senior manager, and it could get quite stressful at times. And then that is what made me make the decision back in 2008 to go freelance, because I thought this is actually having a negative impact, dealing with all the kind of stress of having to manage big budgets and things like that. And I just wanted to add in and go back to this thing about social media, because, you know, I've loved Facebook over the years because I'm a big thing about not losing connection with people in my life, and I've reconnected with people I was in primary school with, etc., etc., etc. But the thing about platforms like Instagram and Facebook and others is that it often gives an unrealistic portrayal of life. You know, we see people with their photos of their they post the perfect lives that they got and the fabulous food that they're eating. And a lot of it is just a mask, but we end up then judging ourselves. Why isn't my life as easy and straightforward as that person?
Yeah. But I think it's a bit of a misconception sort of thing with camera phones and everything. People just want to film what's the best picture sort of thing. Yeah. That's not how they're feeling. That's not their emotions. That's what's there basically. So they give the impression they're having a good time at a restaurant. Like we went to a Portuguese and my friend ordered like seafood. It's a big platter like that. All the lobster and all the crab and all the I don't think it was oysters, but it was like big seafood and that. The way I was feeling, it was a nice to see it, but to actually have it and struggle sort of eating it sort of thing. I felt so embarrassed. I was getting a little bit stressed and anxious. I thought, how am I supposed to eat this like lobster and that? I was really getting it. And I think, these people sort of looking at me? I'm in a Portuguese. I've got a big platter in that. Like I should be like really happy in that, but I felt so much tense in that. Oh, see, it's misconception. But you see the picture on, if I was to show it, I said, wow, you must have had a great time. Yeah. And the answer is not really.
And I think, I'm of a certain age, but, for young people, I think there is so much pressure to fit in and wear the right clothes and be wearing the right makeup and having your hair right and all this kind of, this thing about posing with pursed lips and lip filler and all that stuff. But it's like,
counting,
and it's I don't necessarily say I feel it, but it's sometimes about we don't get happiness and contentment from outside of ourselves. We've got to somehow find it within ourselves, and we're in a time where it to me it feels like we've got to have the right brand of this and the right brand of that, and it's getting satisfaction from life from external things, which we maybe will never reach, because it doesn't necessarily, like Jay's point, it doesn't necessarily make one feel better on the inside.
I don't think it's. I think we're maybe around here of a generation, and looking at the next generation from our point of view, I feel very sad, very, very sad. Because I talk to people across, I don't know, people just tend to come and talk to me. And we discuss all different kinds of things. And, we would have gone to a club or gone meeting friends, or their idea is to put the Netflix on, have a pyjama and get a pizza. And it's like, well, don't you go out? Don't you this? Don't you that? And they're like looking, and they really feel it because they would love to be able to do that when they speak to other people. But you're not encouraged to do that anymore.
And I think we were having a conversation earlier about how COVID has really, really impacted on society and how people operate. I live on a great East End road and we all know our neighbours, but I think increasingly we isolate ourselves, and COVID started that. And I've noticed with my next door neighbour, during COVID, we talked a lot because he come out in the garden and I do some of his garden for him, but he hardly goes out at all now. And I find that really sad because as humans, we need human connection,
interaction
with one another.
I think it's also becoming very hard for people. I mean, the beginning of this conversation was more so for men feeling isolated. But if you're not getting the help and the support from the places where we're all being told to go, i.e. your GP, this, that and the other, places like One Places, I think, are a oasis. Because I found One Places through a friend. It wasn't through a recommendation on where I think it should have been, which was a referral of a possibility for these things and the amazing things and opportunities that we have. And through that, to be able to test yourself I don't think disability should be, or people wanting to talk, or elderly or what have you, are being given those kind of places. They're all being closed down. Everything is being taken away from you. And I think that as individuals, we have a responsibility towards the people that we meet in a positive way. I really do, because if we don't do it, who is going to?
And it doesn't have to be a lot, does it?
No.
When I'm, you say people come and talk to you. When I go to the corner shop, I talk to many people on my road. When I go a little bit further to the Tesco's Extra, if I see somebody on the road, I say hello to them. There's one elderly lady that I always say hello to. And yet we're discouraged from doing that. And we also do it in terms of stereotypes of people from different cultures as well. It's important to say. I go out of my way to speak to people that are going to the little mosque that is around the corner from me, and people say hello back. But these days, we don't take that step to actually take the initiative. And it's only a small thing just to say hello. How are you?
I mean, generally,
I think it's harder with people with invisible disabilities, is what we're doing with Expert by Experience, and we're pushing that forward. And to be honest, it's going quite well with that.
Touch wood.
And having saying that, we have an excellent tutor, which is Mike, who is with us. Brownie points. But it's opened it up on so many levels. And with disability, people are scared. We're scared of people that are normal, supposedly, and yet they're also scared for some reason of us because we're aliens or something.
Yeah. I mean, I just think people are isolated. They want to talk, they want to say hello, they want to smile, but they don't, because they're worried about what they're going to perceive, or whether they're not going to get a reply, they're not going to get a smile back. So, I mean, I live in a crescent and that. You're talking about 3-4 houses that I say hello to. I don't know who lives right in the crescent and that. It's loads of houses, loads of people. Everyone just comes out, puts their bins out, goes back in, sort of thing. And that's not even the social time. That's about 9-10 o'clock when there's no one there.
That's to do with COVID as well.
So talk about being like social. Some people just don't like. You go to the supermarket, you get loads of people shopping, just picking up this, but that, don't look where they're going, or don't sort of like say hello or a smile. I mean, we're not all good at sort of like different times of day. But I mean, the amount of people you can go and have a chat in the supermarket, and they're all locals. People just they're not ready to talk, basically. They
you
don't
go to the supermarket, and there was a time in the relatively recent past where you'd go to the supermarket and you'd know a particular person on the till. I remember one lady on the till near our nearest supermarket. She moved away from the UK, but if you went to her aisle, you'd have a nice chat, it'd be lovely. Now I just have to encounter machines, and that seems to be where we are going, and I don't know if that is very good for humanity.
Yeah.
Without wanting to sound negative, I don't think that is a good thing.
There's stress involved, anxiety involved on a self-service. The amount of times it comes up with an error message and you've got to call someone and you're waiting, you just want to get your shopping, pay for it. But the amount of, it's not straightforward. You can't just go pay you still got to have contact with the thing. But stress, the anxiety to what you've got, then you've got to get in a car, you got to drive, basically. And if it's dark, you've got traffic, you've got cars that are not giving way. They're just going where they want. They're passing red lights. And that's just a stressful journey, basically. So you've got to time yourself when you're going to go shopping. Go in the morning, because if you go at 5, 6 o'clock, you're not going to get a good shot. Right.
We are running out of time, but I want to ask you one quick question, right? If you could choose a colour to represent your feelings, what colour would you choose?
I already answered that.
Oh, I do like green, to be honest with you, but my main colour would be blue. Because I like blue, as in wearing blue clothes, like jeans, blue jumper, zip up top. Most of my clothes are blue. Nature, like the water and the sky, is quite calming in that, and I can be calm. But when they say blues, you know what they mean by blues is that you have sort of bad days, and sometimes I think blues, I'm not having a good day. I've got the symptoms of the D word, which is a label, basically. And I know I'm going to feel good or bad on certain days. So
I'm going to go very quick and say I'm going to go with Vim's rainbow, because I think sometimes for me it's orange, sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's purple, which is lovely colour.
Sometimes it's just all of them.
And sometimes it's all of them at once. Or all of them within
red, orange, yellow, green.
Saifur, what's yours?
Go on, Saifur. Let's hear it.
I would go with what
Jay
said. I think blue, because I think I like bright.
Pink.
Not bright.
No, that wasn't it.
But no, a nice sky blue, right?
Sky blue, yeah.
Makes you feel relaxed when you look at it, a nice blue sky. Don't get much in this country, but when you do, it's nice. Well, but time is running out, so I want to thank each and every one of you. Mike, thank you for joining us.
Thanks. I know I talked a lot, but thank
Jay,
you.
Thank you, Saifur.
And
Thank you.
again.
Thank
you again.
And thank you, Saifur, as always.
Been a pleasure.
Your second podcast now.
Yeah, second.
Yeah.
So, and thank you at home for watching, listening. This has been your One Place in Conversation podcast, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you next time.
Everybody dance,